it's Marissa here from Little House Living. I thought today that I would take you through the canning part of my pantry. We're not going to go through the other side because it's a big mess over there. But we're going to go through the canning part of the pantry. I think I did a tour on this last year, but the tour ended up being super long because I showed you all my extra storage and stuff like that. So we're not going to do that today. We're just going to do this part of my pantry in here. So the difference is I have a pretty big pantry, but it is not big enough to hold all of the canning jars that I do and each year. So this is what I call my working pantry. This pantry is right off of my kitchen. All of these jars are really easily accessible to me. So what I do is I stock these shelves with all the different varieties of canned stuff that I have, and then all the extra stuff that doesn't fit on the shelves goes in the rest of my canned food storage, which I keep in a couple different places in the house, just because, like I said, I don't have room in here. But this works really good because I can see everything that I have, and then about every 2 months probably, I just go through and I restock all of the shelves. So I'm going to show you what I have. I'll show you what I canned, not this year, but last summer, and some of the things we liked and some of the things that we don't like. And yeah, this will be a tour of my canning pantry. Alright, we are going to start on the top, on the side that I was just at. These are my aprons that are hanging over here, and then I have some shopping bags and some cooler bags that stay on this side of the pantry, so I always know where they're at. But this entire top shelf, you can't see it, but it's about 3 jars deep. That is all different kinds of jelly, and I believe the dill relish is still up there too. So this is as high as my pantry can go, which is good because this is as high as I can reach. But this is where I keep all of my relish, and then these are all different kinds of jelly. I have a ton of different jelly. I hardly made any jelly this last year because we had so much from the year before. So that's most of what that is. And then we eat a lot of this dill relish. I have shared the recipe on the blog, and so I will link it down below so you can check it out. But this is one of our favorite things to make every year. And we still have to take these wires out of here. I used to have the stove running back here and then some lights on this other side of this wall, and I had to move it last year, so we just haven't cleaned this up yet. But above that is some extra storage too, but there's not jars up there. So this is as high as my jars go in the pantry, and like I said, that whole top row is all jellies. Alright, this row, let's start with, this is ketchup. I did not can any ketchup this last year. I think I canned over 50 pints of it the year before, and so I didn't need to can any. It's a little bit runny. Next year, this year, actually, this summer when I make some more, I will cook it down further, so it's not so runny, but we really do like this. I think I've shared this recipe on the blog too, so I will link that one also. Having your own ketchup has saved us a ton of money. My kids go through ketchup like it's candy. So I always have a big stock of ketchup in here. And then this, if you watch my other video, this is pear mincemeat. I made this in 2020. We did not like it at all. So it's been sitting here ever since. I did put it in some muffins, and I think in pancakes once, and everybody actually liked it that way, so we're slowly using it up in muffins and pancakes when I make them. All I do is mix this with my gluten-free muffin mix, and in place of some of the liquids, and everybody likes it that way, so we'll use it up. It's just not a favorite, and I won't make it again. This is all peach puree. What I'm going to do with it, I have no idea. This is from, I don't think this is from last year. This is from the year before. And I just had a ton of peaches, so I had to make a whole bunch of it. And it just hangs out here. So I have used it in like muffins and stuff, but we just don't go through it fast enough for what I have. Alright, this is some tomato basil sauce. This is also quite old. I didn't make any of this last year. Or let's see, or the year before. This was all from 2020. This is just a really basic pasta sauce. I made a ton of it in 2020, and so we're still using it up, and that's why I haven't made any in future years. We might be getting close this summer to make some more, but all I do is just use that wherever we need any kind of like pasta sauce or tomato sauce. It's really basic. The recipe for this is in the Ball, I think it's in the Ball Blue book. I can link that down below too. All right, this is peach salsa. I think these are 2 different years. That's why they look different. This is last year. Yep, and this is the year before. Last year we did a little bit chunkier, a little bit spicier. The year before was a little bit more mild. They're both good in different ways. That's a recipe that I'll be sharing this year. We really like it. We go through it quite quickly. The kids love it. Yeah, that was a good one. This is baked beans. They are really good. They took forever to can. Mine have ham in them. And let's see, I think this recipe was also in the Ball Blue book. I can link that. I'll check it and then I will link it below if it was. But I made 1 batch of those last year because I had a bunch of ham that needed to be used up. And so it wasn't that difficult. It was just very time consuming to make. But this amount that I made, I think I made at least probably 18 pints. That'll last us into next year, so I won't make any more of that again this year. All right, scooting down the shelf. This is all we have left of applesauce. I did not get apples to make applesauce last year, so we're running low. I like to do the applesauce on with the very tart apples that we get from just like backyard trees and stuff. So any applesauce I make has just been free. I just sweeten it with a little bit of honey and cinnamon, and we really like it. I use it in a lot of baking too, but this is all we have left for until we get some more apples, hopefully this fall. These are cranberries. I just did these actually this year. I had a ton of frozen cranberries that I had bought with the intention of canning them up. I used cranberries for a no-mato sauce, so like a tomato sauce that doesn't have tomatoes in it. Sounds really weird, but it actually tastes just like tomato sauce, except it's a little bit healthier because it's got cranberries and pumpkin and stuff in it. So I use these for that. I also use these for a meatball sauce that we make. So I didn't want these in the freezer anymore, so I just ended up canning them up. Cranberries are super easy to can, as are most berries, but really helps save space in the freezer when you do it that way. All right, this is pear sauce. So I didn't make any applesauce this year, but I did make pear sauce because we had a ton of pears that were really good. This one is separated a little bit. They were pretty watery, but it still made good pear sauce. We like to just have this as a side dish for meals. This is some broth that I canned up. I did this, I must have done this at the very end of last year because I didn't do it that long ago. But this is just chicken broth. And then I canned it so we had some shelf stable instead of always putting it in the freezer. This is chili. Let's see, I did make a fresh batch of this last year. I made this first 2 years ago, and I haven't shared the recipe on the blog yet, but I really want to. This is really good. My kids like to put this over chips, and then they put cheese over the top of that, and it's just super easy lunch. Or you could just eat it as chili, but sometimes we don't like to have it as soup. So this is really easy to can up and really good when you have extra tomatoes and you don't know what to do with. Let's see, these are all cherries. These are still from 2020 where we had a ton of cherries and I canned them up. I use them on occasion. Actually, they go in that no-mato sauce that I was just telling you about. So the cherries and the cranberries and the pumpkin all go together. So I've actually been using quite a bit of them for that. I think this is probably about what I have left for cherries. There might be a couple bigger jars down here, but there's only a couple left in here, so I'll have to make some more this year. Hopefully we'll find a good deal on cherries. There's a weird jar in here. I've got some pineapple that I canned up last year. We had a bunch of extra bulk pineapple that we got from our co-op, and so I canned up several jars of that. We use it on occasion. We don't eat a ton of pineapple, but it's nice to have it for a little bit different side dish. And then these are just some pints of beans, like to add into soup or something. I usually put most of them in quarts. Alright, down here we have some plum sauce. This was not made last year, it was made the year before. And I didn't really know what to do with it, but I started putting it on meatballs, and it's really good. That recipe is also, I think it's in the Ball Blue book, but also in the Ball Complete Canning book. And that's a really easy way to use up lots of plums if you have them and don't necessarily want something sweet. And then we have a bunch of beans. I did all French beans this year. It was a lot of work, but it was worth it because it's really fun to have a different style than what I did the year before. This is the last of the jars of the year before, and then this is some jars from last year that I did. So there's quite a bit more of this in the storage area that I have for jars, but we eat a lot of canned green beans, probably a couple times a week at least, so I like to have a big supply of those on hand. And then, yeah, these are just cut green beans, and we eat those the same as we do the French ones, but I just wanted something different. Alright, this is salsa. I did salsa 2 years ago, I think, and then I also did more salsa last year. This is probably still the salsa from 2 years ago. We're a little slow at going through it, but then if I do it in a year, I won't have to do it the next year. So these few jars are still what is left over from 2 years ago. We'll finish eating those up this winter, and then we'll have the jars that I did this year. And then right next to it is pizza sauce. This is from, I didn't make any of this last year. I made this 2 years ago because I made a ton of it. And we do make quite a bit of homemade pizza, but we haven't gone through it yet. So that's something that I'll just make every other year when I have the tomatoes. These are some roasted red peppers. That doesn't look like there's liquid in there, but there actually is. Let's find a better jar. These are nice to have. I made way too many of them, and so we have a lot left, but they're really good to add into like eggs, or to put in, we put them in an Italian salad that we make. Nice to have on occasion, not nice to have a whole bunch of them that don't get used up. Alright, so we are down to the fruits and pie fillings and stuff. So this is actually rhubarb strawberry pie filling, and I just made that last month. I had a bunch of rhubarb left over in the freezer from last summer. Oh, this one's got a lot of liquid. That's okay. We use this for pies or cobblers, mostly cobblers just because they're easy to make. But we love the rhubarb pie filling, so hopefully we get a lot of rhubarb this year. We did not last year, and then I just froze everything that I did get, so hopefully we can restock that. I only made, I think, 7 quarts of the rhubarb pie filling, so we'll probably eat that up here until we get the new stuff. This is blackberry pie filling that I made last year. It turned out really good. I've done a lot of different pie fillings. I haven't done blackberry before just because it's so hard to get blackberries where we live, but we ended up again with a ton of extra from our co-op one time, and so I canned them up into pie filling, and this is really good. It tastes like summer. It's so nice to have on hand, something different. This is all blackberry pie filling. This is cherry pie filling. That is from when I had all the cherries and needed to do something with it. I think this is all cherry. This is blueberries. I don't know that I made blueberry pie filling. This is just straight up blueberries. We use this to top pancakes or to add into muffins. I could make a crumble with it if I wanted to. Those are always really nice to have. Then I've got one more jar of apple pie filling. It's pretty old, but we didn't make any last year because we didn't have the extra apples, so we're glad to have it. Let's see, these are a couple pickles. I don't like making the slices, that's why those have sat here for 2 years now and they need to be used up. Last year I made a ton of pickled beans. Pickled beans we like more than pickles. We just like beans. Can you tell? It's all the beans. Pickled beans are one of our favorite. I don't know if I've shared this particular recipe on the blog. I should. These are super strong. They're kind of knock your socks off pickles, but we love them. They get very addicting. I do have pickles too, but I must not, like regular size pickles, but I must not have any in the pantry right now. I probably stuck them in the fridge. So I have some of those in the storage area though. These are all blueberries and blueberry syrup. So the blueberry syrup was from when I was heating up the blueberries to can them, to do the hot pack. So these are smaller jars of blueberries. I will pour an entire one of these jars in a batch of muffins, so they're really easy to use up. And then the syrup we use in place of maple syrup on pancakes. We've been kind of slow to use that, but it's nice to have as an option. But if I don't have to, I won't make it again, probably. All right, we're getting towards the bottom here. This is not canned stuff, but we have a little bit of dried fruit here. This is tea that's not supposed to be over here. This is dried fruit. I've got a little bit more of that around the corner where I've got my spices. This is dried zucchini, which I do every year. I don't freeze my zucchini anymore. I shred it all and dehydrate it, and I can put a link to how I do that down below also. But this has been such a huge fridge saver or freezer saver to dehydrate it instead of put it all in the freezer. And then when you go to make this, it's not all soupy and disgusting. So this is actually probably squash. That's why it looks a little different. I use it the same though. So I always like having that. And then these are nectarines that we did last year. Instead of doing them in the like big half pieces, we cut them up into chunks because like that's how we eat them anyway, and it was so much easier to can them in these pieces than to try and get those perfect slices. So I'm definitely going to do that again. I don't know that I canned much for peaches. This says honey spice, so this is honey spice peaches, and then these are nectarines. I didn't do a lot of peaches last year. I don't think we had a ton of extra. I must have had some extra nectarines, but I probably did mostly of the honey spiced ones because we like those as a side dish or as like a cobbler. This is cider. It's still from 2 years ago. We made a ton of it when we had a bunch of extra apples, but we've slowly been drinking it up. It's super good. We bought a cider press at an auction 2 years ago, and it was worth it. And it's really fun to have people come over and make cider with you. Okay, these are pears. Let's see, these ones are still from 2 years ago, but we did do pears last year too, and then we did a bunch of that pear sauce. We like to have pears just as a side dish. This is my homemade vanilla hiding in here. This one I just started not very long ago, so it's not super dark yet, but there's a couple jars of this back here. I just opened my last one, so in about 3 or 4 months or so, these will probably be ready. I got a little bit of honey here, and then this is tomato soup and this is vegetable soup. I'm still using those up from previous years. I didn't can any soup except for the chili this last year. All right, we've made it to the floor. Down here is where I'm currently keeping my these are big gallon-sized jars of baking supplies. So right now I've got dried cranberries, some cane sugar, brown rice flour, white rice flour, chocolate chips, coconut flour, sorghum, and oats. And then next to that we've got some popcorn, some more dried fruit, my muffin mix, and some more dried fruit there on the end. These are dried white peaches from last year, and they're really good. So I used to have this, if you remember from my other videos, on a shelf outside of my pantry, but I recently moved it all in here because I moved my mixer right in here. I have this little countertop in here, and I decided that it would actually be easier for me to have my mixer not only where I have these jars, but where I have everything else too. So I just moved this in here the other day, and now I put these down here. I'm not sure if that's where they're going to stay yet, but there is room for them down there. Alright, so that is all of my canned goods. Like I said, I have more storage for canned goods in a couple other places in my house, so this is not all that I have. I usually, well, at least for the last 3 years, I've canned between 500 and 800 jars a year, so obviously there's not enough room for them in here, but this way I can see what all I have right now and have something of each variety so that I don't have to go digging to find it in one of the other storage spaces. One of the questions that I got just the other day on this is why the shelves are so narrow and why they only hold 2 jars. Let me try to, if you can see this, this is the entire width of my little pantry. So I have about 3 feet of walking space in here. If this came out any further, it would block the door, and I wouldn't be able to walk in here very easily or get around in here. So these are narrow because we made them to hold jars, and we didn't make them to hold all of our jars, but just the majority of the variety. So that's why they're narrow, and they're also narrow because they're just built into the wall. My husband built them into the studs of the wall that he put to divide the kitchen from the pantry, and so you know, we don't want to push our luck that much. They're very sturdy. My husband overbuilds everything, but we don't want to push our luck, you know, super hard by making this super extended shelf. And then these are also like a floating shelf. They do have supports in between here, but it doesn't come down that far into the jars because this right here is the stud of the wall. So that's the only thing that comes into the jars. There's not like a like up here where there's brackets holding the shelves up. We don't have that in here, so it doesn't take up the space. So this is as far out as we could make them. I actually did have him make these to be the right width for jars. So the top one is made for the jelly jars. The next 3 are made for pints, and then the bottom 2 are made for quarts. It hasn't actually worked out like that with how I just kind of stash stuff on here. But if I did put stuff on here, how we had built it to be, like height-wise and depth-wise, I'd be able to probably get the most out of this space. But at this point, that would require me cleaning all of these shelves off and rearranging them, and I don't want to do that right now. So anyway, that is why I have it the way that I do. And I really like having it in here in the kitchen. Like I said, I can just come and grab stuff whenever I need it. And it feels good to be able to see all the stuff that we've done and have it out here and accessible and ready to use. Especially my favorite things are just the convenience foods like the pizza sauce and you know, the applesauce. I don't have to make that on a daily basis. I can just come out here and grab it off my shelf. It's probably going to be a big focus for me in this year. I'm hoping that I can break my 800 jar thing that I've done for the last couple years and do more jars than that. And I think my goal with that is to do more of the condiment type of stuff, more sauces that we like to have. I'd like to do like sweet and sour sauce, more ketchup, and just some of those things that are very time consuming to make on a regular basis, but you can can up, and so you can make them in a big batch and then just have them all winter long. So that's going to be kind of my focus for this summer, this new canning season. You already saw that I have a couple jars of stuff that I did this year, like the cranberries and the rhubarb pie filling, which was just stuff from the freezer. I've been trying to clean my freezer out, and it's not going so well for me because then I keep adding more stuff to it. But it is really nice that you can make shelf-stable stuff from your stuff in the pantry, or from your stuff, or not from your pantry, from the stuff in the freezer or somewhere else. Just save room and not have to use the electricity to store it. So I hope you enjoyed this tour. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I will try to remember to put all the links in down below, but if I forget something, just let me know in the comments and I will get it added. I will talk to you guys next time.